My name is Chinru. I'm the Global Brand Director for Sailor Jerry, and today I'm going to share with you a little story about how we've made ourselves relevant again for the new generation. So let me tell you a little bit about who Sailor Jerry is for some of you who don't know. And secondly, I'm going to be talking about how we've reskinned our brand for relevance. And the third thing is I'm going to share with you a few lessons I've learned along the way. So first thing, who's Sailor Jerry? We are actually the world's #2 spice rum. You don't need to know the #1. This is the only brand you need to know. And we have been voted one of the rum brands to watch in 2018 by Spirits Business. We're over 1 million cases, and I think for a brand that's only 17 years old, that's pretty awesome. So we're celebrating it back in the office. And we're based on a real man. His name is Norman Sailor Jerry Collins. He's known as the godfather of the old school tattoo. That's what he's most famous for. He was a bit of a revolutionary of his time. He invented purple ink. So for any of you that have tattoos with purple ink, it would not have happened without Norman Sailor Jerry Collins. And he's famous for inking this style of tattooing, which is old school artwork or old school tattoos. What defines it is got these thick, dark outlines, and it's got these bright, vibrant colors. Shading at the time in the 50s was not that common, and he brought that to life in tattooing culture. And chances are right this minute there's someone getting tattooed somewhere in the world with one of his pieces. And he was also a character. He was also famous for lots of quotes, like saying, "I'd rather have character than be one." And you can see from some of the animations and some of the drawings that he made, he had a sense of humor and he was a bit of a prankster. So that spirit within him is something that we also want to bring to life with this brand. So that's a bit of a snapshot on the brand. In terms of reskinning it for relevance, since I joined the brand, which was in 2017, there was a big job to be done about how we rejuvenate this brand. And the reason why was because where we'd been when we first started, which was just over 17 years ago, it kind of grew up and mushroomed quite organically through grassroots and through a time when punk rock culture was big. And if any of you identify with punk rock culture, it's this almost rebellion against this corporate capitalism culture. It's rebellion against, selling out. It's rebellion against wealth and status. And at the time, this was, a counterculture. This was very individualistic. And we used to make a lot of T-shirts, this is one of them, and give a lot of rum out to punk rock bands. And over time, these band members would start drinking our bottles on stage, and they would start sharing it with their friends. They would start giving out T-shirts to their fans. And we bubbled up quite organically through that route. And before long, we started kind of connecting with adjacent passion points, like those into bike culture, and of course those in tattoo culture. And that's how we mushroomed, that's how we grew. But if you look at the vibe of the brand back then, you'll find that it was pretty angry, right? And over time in 2017, this vibe can be pretty outdated because it's not inclusive. It was, it excluded people. And these pictures were very much from our brand guidelines, If you were not into our kind of music, don't drink our brand. If you're not into our kind of clothes, don't come close to us. And it was very kind of talk to the hand. This picture exactly was in our kind of brand guidelines. So one of the things I realized was the category, spiced rum as a category, is fun, it's sociable, it's Caribbean, it's kind of summer wind, sand in your feet. And one of the thoughts was, whilst our target consumer might have been this guy 20 years ago, our target consumer today is this guy. Right? And, he still has an independent spirit. He has a sense of humor. He's got a wink in his eye. And he may be rebellious in his own way, but he's also more positive in his outlook, and he's less angry about life. So to make that switch, what we did was, if we were about rebellion before, now we're about edgy fun. If we were about multiple passion points, we really wanted to focus on tattoos and artwork being our core passion point. If we were about snark, we wanted to be more about conviction, about standing for your beliefs. And if we were about being too cool for school, we wanted to just embrace this we're all in spirit. Yeah? So in some ways, they're subtle shifts, but they were really important shifts. So if that was then, and if that was our vibe then, this is how we started to move towards, right? It's more vibrant, it's more colorful, it's a bit more inclusive. It still has that, go all in rebellious streak, but just expressed in a slightly different way for the generation of the future. So we have a brand belief, and I found that this has transcended all languages internationally, which is whole ass always, half ass never. So even like, a brand manager in Russia, he was like, I get it. And this whole idea, we've got this picture of crowd surfing. No one crowd surfs by tiptoeing gingerly into the crowd. You got to go all in, right? And you got to be whole ass. So this has become almost like our team ethos and our brand ethos. If it's going to be half ass, let's not do it. And it's all fueled by powerful human insight that work or play, life is better when you commit fully. An image like this, the guys here are into this sense of fun. You might have a streak of crazy, but you're all in it together. And therefore, our brand purpose is to inspire the all-in spirit of Norman Sailor Jerry Collins. Ultimately, we create this rum in his honor, and we want to express the personality and the individuality that he had. So let me share with you a couple of lessons I've learned along the way in this journey with this brand. I think the first lesson is know your tribe. This quote is directly from the agency. Screw all that demographic bullshit. Think in terms of people you know, right? Tribes transcend borders and work internationally. And, we really believe find your communities. I think most target consumer demographics, they'll say, we want the 25 to 34-year-old male, right? And that doesn't mean anything. But be clear about who you are, and your tribe will find you. So we fundamentally believe in that. Secondly, know where you came from, right? I think when you look at how to revive a brand, you've got to go back to the roots. Look back at how it started. Look back at what it made it successful. And I fundamentally believe what made this brand successful in the beginning was the fact that it behaved like a band. Right? So we think of Sailor Jerry like a band. Don't think of it like this brand that you want people to buy off the supermarket shelves. And bands have awesome branding, right? These were the Ramones, and they were one of the original punk rock bands. And when we were talking about how to shift the positioning for the brand, we were saying, let's be less Ramones and more Rolling Stones. Open our arms a little bit more. Be less kind of angry. So that was a reference that, we could describe as a transition. And we continue to do that for 2017 and 2018. The third lesson is build immersive brand worlds. This is a brand that does not do big swanky advertising. We don't have the kind of money or the kind of media spend to go big with advertising. So we believe that we must bring real life physical experiences to our consumers, and creating a very clear, definable brand world is really important. And what I found was that when I was looking through all the archives of the artwork, somehow over time, we started to go really brown. When originally, the brand was vibrant. So you can see that comparison. I started to get clues when I looked at how our Australian teams were bringing the brand to life. You can see that's in Australia, that's the original artwork. And in Australia, we were starting to just punch out with the colors, make it more vibrant, and inject the energy and a kind of youthful vibrancy to the brand. And as a result, we've defined, here's our color palette. They're true to the colors that he used in the 1940s and 50s in the old school artwork tattoo styling. But, we want to bring that through. And we have a very clear design style. Our inspiration is coming from mid-century Americana, because that's where Norman Sailor Jerry came from. But we want to infuse that with our artwork. Right? And over time, this is how we've started to bring to life our events and our experiences. Whether it's immersive worlds for our consumer or whether it's in internal events, the design language of the brand has been hugely important for us. And finally, the last lesson is look for kindred spirits. When you're a brand that doesn't advertise, you need to collaborate. And I think the future is actually in wonderful collaboration, finding kindred spirits that you can connect to. In the early days, this brand connected with brands like Converse. We did collaborations with them. We have, clothing as one of our passion points. We collaborated with an awesome kind of leather American apparel brand. And then recently, we did this pop-up in Glasgow, and we collaborated with a modern punk rock band called Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. And, we did a kind of tour partnership with them. They did an acoustic session for our fans and our tribe. And that's how you keep connecting and being relevant with consumers today. We're talking to Martin Guitars as another kind of musical route. So in summary, know your tribe, respect where the brand came from, build immersive brand worlds, and look for kindred spirits. So if any of you out there are potential kindred spirits for the Sailor Jerry brand, come talk to me, look for me. And finally, this is one of Norman Sailor Jerry's famous quotes: I haven't done my best yet, only my best so far. Thank you.